everyone, and welcome back to another episode of English Learning Podcast. I'm your host, Jason, and with me is the amazing Julia. How are you today, Julia?
Hi, Jason. I'm great, thank you. And hello to all our listeners. I'm so excited about today's episode because we're going to share something that everyone wants, and that's how to speak perfect English.
Yes, that's right. Now, before we start, let me quickly tell you when we say perfect English, we don't mean you need to sound like a native speaker. Perfect English is about being clear, confident, and understood when you speak.
Exactly. Many learners worry too much about their accent or making mistakes. But the truth is, you don't have to be perfect to communicate effectively. And that's what we'll focus on today's simple, practical tips that you can start using right away to improve your English.
And the best part? These tips are easy to remember and won't take hours of study. By the end of this episode, you'll have a set of quick, actionable strategies to help you speak English more confidently and naturally.
So, if you've ever felt nervous speaking English, or you want to sound smoother and more confident, stay tuned. We'll guide you step by step, and we'll even give you little examples you can practice today.
All right, let's dive in. The first thing we need to understand is, what does perfect English really mean? Let's talk about that. All right, Julia, before we jump into the tips, I think it's important to ask this. What does perfect English actually mean? Is it even possible to speak perfectly?
Good question, Jason. Honestly, a lot of learners think perfect English means speaking like a native speaker, having no mistakes and sounding exactly like in movies. But that's not true.
Exactly. And that idea can actually make people feel nervous or scared to speak. So, what should our listeners focus on instead?
Well, perfect English is really about being clear, confident, and understandable. It means that when you speak, people can easily understand you. You can express your ideas, and you don't feel afraid to communicate.
Oh, I love that. So it's not about sounding perfect, it's about speaking effectively.
Yes. And here's another important point: making mistakes is completely normal. Even native speakers make mistakes. The difference is that they don't let mistakes stop them from speaking. So, perfection is not the goal. Communication is.
That makes so much sense. It's like saying, I don't need to be perfect to be understood. Listeners, you can start speaking today without worrying about every word being 100% correct.
Exactly. And by focusing on clear communication, practicing daily, and using simple English, you will naturally improve over time. That's the real secret to speaking English confidently.
So, now that we understand what perfect English really means, let's move on to our first quick tip that can make a big difference. Ready, Julia?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right, Julia. Let's start with our first quick tip for speaking perfect English. Think in simple English. Can you explain what that means?
Sure, Jason. Many learners try to think in their native language first and then translate every word into English. This slows you down and makes speaking feel difficult. Thinking in simple English helps your words flow naturally.
Oh, I see. So instead of translating, you just start forming ideas directly in English?
Exactly. For example, instead of saying in your head, I want to go to the store to buy some food, word by word translation from your language, you just think in simple English. I go store, buy food. It's short, clear, and easy to say.
That's smart. And it also makes speaking faster, right?
Yes, and beginners don't have to use long or difficult sentences. Simple words and short sentences are perfectly fine. The key is that people understand you and you feel confident.
Do you have a small tip for our listeners to start thinking in English?
Absolutely. Try this. During your day, name things around you in English. For example, if you see a chair, think, "This is a chair." If you're drinking water, think, "I drink water." It's a simple habit, but it trains your brain to think in English automatically.
I love that. So even just a few minutes a day can make a huge difference.
Exactly. Start small, stay consistent, and soon your brain will start thinking in English without translating. That's when speaking becomes much easier.
Awesome. That's a great first tip. Now, what's our second tip for speaking perfect English?
That would be speaking daily, even for just a few minutes. Let's talk about that next.
All right, Julia. Let's move on to our second quick tip for perfect English. Speak daily, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Why is this so important?
Speaking every day is the fastest way to improve. Many learners study English for hours but never speak it. Without speaking, your brain doesn't practice turning thoughts into words.
Ah, so even a short daily practice is better than long but irregular sessions.
Exactly. You don't need to speak for an hour every day. Even 5 minutes of focused speaking can make a huge difference over time. The key is consistency.
That makes sense. But what if someone feels nervous to speak alone or thinks they need a partner?
Great question. You can practice alone. Talk to yourself in front of a mirror, describe what you're doing, or repeat short sentences. For example, when cooking, say, "I am cutting vegetables," or when walking, "I see a car. The car is red."
Oh, I like that. So speaking doesn't always need a partner. It's about forming the habit.
Exactly. The more you speak, the more confident you become. Your brain gets used to forming sentences in English, and gradually it becomes natural. And once you're confident, speaking to others becomes much easier.
That's simple and powerful. Just 5 minutes every day can really improve your English.
Yes, and if you want, you can increase a little bit every week. Start small, stay consistent, and you'll see big improvements in just a few weeks.
Awesome! That's our second tip. Now, let's move on to tip number 3, which is all about vocabulary and how to use it smartly. All right, Julia, now let's talk about our third tip for perfect English. Focus on common words, not big vocabulary. Why is this so important?
Many learners think they need to use difficult or fancy words to sound smart. But in reality, most communication in English uses simple, common words. Using simple words makes you easier to understand.
Ah, so instead of memorizing long or difficult words, we should focus on words people actually use every day?
Exactly. For example, instead of saying, "I am exhilarated," you can just say, "I am very happy." Everyone understands you and it feels natural. That's perfect English.
That's really helpful. Do you have tips for remembering these common words?
Yes. One method is to learn words in context. Instead of memorizing a long list, learn phrases you can use daily. For example, "I like this, I don't know, can you help me?" These are common phrases you can use immediately.
Oh, I see. So learning practical phrases is better than learning words only from a dictionary.
Exactly. And another tip is to listen and repeat. When you watch videos or listen to podcasts, notice the simple words and phrases native speakers use, and try saying them yourself.
That's great advice. So, by focusing on common words, Learners can speak more naturally and confidently without overthinking.
Exactly. Remember, simple English is often the most powerful. Using the right words at the right time is more important than using complicated words incorrectly.
Perfect. That's tip number 3 done. Now, let's move on to tip number 4, which is all about pronunciation and clarity. All right, Julia, our fourth tip is about pronunciation. Many learners worry about their accent. What do you think, Julia? Should we try to sound like a native speaker?
Not at all, Jason. The goal is not to change your accent. Your accent is part of who you are, and that's completely fine. The key is to focus on clear pronunciation so people can understand you.
Oh, that's a relief. So, it's more about being understood than sounding exactly like a native speaker?
Exactly. For example, you might pronounce some words a little differently, but as long as people can understand you, that's what matters. Clear pronunciation makes your speech smooth and confident.
That makes sense. How can learners practice clear pronunciation?
There are a few simple ways. Listen and repeat words and sentences from podcasts, videos, or even songs. Focus on difficult sounds. Practice words that are tricky for you. For example, think or water. Pay attention to word stress and rhythm. English has a natural rhythm, and stressing the right words makes your sentences easier to understand.
Wow! So it's not about removing your accent. It's about being clear, confident, and natural.
Yes, and the more you practice, the more your pronunciation improves without changing who you are. That's the secret to sounding good in English.
Perfect. That's tip number 4. Next, we'll talk about a very important tip for listening, which will naturally improve your speaking too. All right, Julia, moving on to tip number 5. Listen more than you study. That sounds a little different. What do you mean by that?
Great question, Jason. Many learners spend hours memorizing grammar rules and vocabulary, but they forget one important thing. English is a language you hear and use, not just study in a book. Listening helps you understand how English really sounds.
Ah, so listening naturally helps you speak better?
Yes. When you listen regularly, your brain starts recognizing patterns, common words, and sentence structures. You start thinking in English, and your speaking improves without even trying too hard.
That's interesting. What are some good ways to listen every day?
There are many ways. Podcasts listen to short episodes for beginners. Videos, YouTube videos, news clips, or cartoons. Songs. Pay attention to the lyrics and rhythm. Even 10 to 15 minutes a day makes a difference.
And should learners try to repeat what they hear?
Absolutely. Repeat short sentences aloud. This helps with pronunciation, rhythm, and confidence. For example, if you hear someone say, "I'm going to the market," you say it aloud too. It trains your mouth and brain together.
So, listening a lot and repeating what you hear can really improve your English naturally.
Yes. Think of listening as your secret weapon. The more you listen, the easier it becomes to understand and speak English confidently.
Awesome! That's tip number 5. Next, we'll talk about tip 6, which is a very common mistake learners make. Translating word by word. All right, Julia. Tip number 6 is very important. Stop translating word by word. I know many learners do this. Can you explain why it's a problem?
Of course, Jason. Translating word by word slows you down and often leads to sentences that sound unnatural in English. Every language has its own structure, so direct translation usually doesn't work.
That makes sense. Can you give an example?
Sure. Imagine a learner wants to say in English, "I am hungry, so I will eat now." If they translate word by word from their language, they might say something like, "I have hunger, so now eat me." See? It sounds confusing.
Oh, wow! That really doesn't sound natural at all.
Exactly. Instead, think in English phrases. You can simply say, "I am hungry. I will eat now." Short, clear, and correct. This is much easier and more natural.
So the key is to learn phrases, not individual words.
Yes, focus on phrases you can use every day, like, "Can you help me?" "I like this," or "What time is it?" Learning phrases trains your brain to speak English naturally without translating.
That's really helpful. So, by stopping word-for-word translation, learners can speak more fluently and confidently.
Exactly. It's all about thinking in English and letting your sentences flow naturally.
Perfect. That's tip number 6. Next, we'll discuss common mistakes learners make and how to fix them. All right, Julia, now let's talk about some common mistakes learners make and how to fix them. This is important so our listeners can avoid unnecessary problems.
Yes, Jason. One of the biggest mistakes is being afraid of making mistakes. Many learners don't speak because they think they'll say something wrong.
That's true. I see it all the time. So what's the solution?
The solution is simple. Speak anyway. Mistakes are normal, and every mistake is a learning opportunity. Don't let fear stop you from practicing.
Great advice. What's another common mistake?
Another one is waiting until you're perfect. Learners often think, "I need to know everything before I speak." But perfection never comes if you wait. Start speaking now, even with simple words.
Absolutely. And what about comparing yourself to others?
Yes, many learners compare themselves with native speakers or fluent friends. This can make you feel discouraged. Instead, focus on your own progress. Every small step counts.
So the key is speak without fear. Start now and focus on your own improvement.
Exactly. If you remember these points, you'll avoid common traps and improve much faster.
Perfect. Now that we know the mistakes to avoid, let's talk about a simple daily routine to practice perfect English. All right, Julia. Now it's time for something very practical. A daily mini routine for better English. This is for our listeners who want to see real improvement every day.
Yes, Jason. The good news is you don't need hours of study. Even 15 minutes a day can make a big difference if you use it smartly.
Great! So what does a 15-minute daily routine look like?
Here's a simple plan. 5 minutes listening. Listen to a podcast, a short video, or English conversation. Focus on understanding. 5 minutes speaking. Repeat sentences you heard, talk to yourself, or describe what you are doing. 5 minutes reading or repeating phrases. Read simple English sentences or repeat useful phrases you learned.
That's very doable. Just 15 minutes a day, and you cover listening, speaking, and thinking in English.
Exactly. And the key is consistency. Even if it's small, doing it every day is much more effective than studying for hours irregularly.
So, listeners, start today. Pick 15 minutes, follow this routine, and watch your English improve week by week.
Yes, small steps, but daily. That's the secret to speaking English naturally and confidently.
Perfect. Now, Let's move on to our final section, where we summarize all the tips and give some final encouragement for our listeners. All right, Julia, we've shared so many tips today. Let's quickly summarize everything for our listeners.
Sure, Jason. Here's a quick recap. Think in simple English, don't translate word by word. Speak daily, even for just 5 minutes. Focus on common words, not big vocabulary. Improve pronunciation, not your accent. Listen more than you study, let English flow naturally. Stop translating word by word, learn phrases instead. Avoid common mistakes, speak without fear, and focus on your progress. Follow a daily mini routine 15 minutes a day to improve consistently.
That's a great recap. And remember, listeners, the most important thing is to start today. You don't need to be perfect. Every small step counts and builds your confidence.
Exactly. Speak a little, listen a little, repeat, and practice every day. You'll see improvement sooner than you think. Learning English is a journey, and every effort brings you closer to speaking naturally and confidently.
So, thank you so much for listening. We hope these tips help you speak English more clearly and confidently. Keep practicing, stay consistent, and remember your English can improve every single day.
Yes, and don't forget to like this episode, subscribe to our channel, and share it with friends who also want to improve their English. See you in the next episode.
See you next time. Keep speaking, keep learning.